The revelation today from the Treasury that the practice of housing asylum seekers in hotels will persist under this government. This is the nonsense which was put into place by Priti Patel and Suella Braverman, is not merely an admission of policy continuation. It is an admission of policy weakness, of political weakness, of logistical failure and strategic incoherence, and of moral inadequacy. The basic fact, over 38,000 asylum seekers, that's an astonishing figure, are currently being housed in hotels costing the taxpayer £5.5 million a day. A further 65,000 people are in dispersal accommodation. And the hope of closing these hotels? The Home Office's own permanent secretary, Sir Matthew Rycroft, says that the government's overarching aim is to end hotel use by 2029. This is not a policy, that's a punt into the next parliament. Now, I suppose it's worth addressing the Treasurer's reasoning, outlined in a document from the newly minted Office for Value for Money. That's the British version of Doge. It cites global instability and pressures on housing supply as inevitable justifications for the continuation of hotel use. This is strikingly defeatist. It accepts from the outset that illegal migration will not be reduced and that no viable replacement infrastructure will be in place to cope with it. Well, illegal migration is only illegal migration because we've defined it as such. These people in hotels are not necessarily illegal migrants. They're migrants who haven't been processed. And that's about the failure of our system. There are other alternatives. One alternative is to give migrants the opportunity to work and to give them some sort of some sort of coded identification so that they can contribute to the economy and can find their own accommodation if necessary, which would at least give people dignity. Keeping people locked up in a sort of pseudo prison or a concentration camp is not the behaviour of a dignified and democratic and coherent and civilised country. It may be what other countries have been doing. It doesn't make it right. The Home Office's reliance on the three private contractors, Serco, Mears and Clear Springs, Ready Homes, has become emblematic of a state outsourcing gone awry. These companies, while operating under capped per-person profits, have nevertheless reported record savings, record earnings. This is a scam, in part due to the volume of the asylum seekers. Clear Springs subcontractor SBHL alone reported £50 million in profit. The salesmen are doing well, the taxpayer is not, and the people left in limbo are not doing well. To be clear, this is not simply an issue of cost, it's about consequences. Councils from Middlesbrough to Eastbourne, from Chelmsford to Coventry are issuing urgent warnings. Hotel placements are driving up local rents, increasing pressure on schools, housing, cohesion, and contributing to unrest. In some wards, the 1 in 200 resident cluster limit has been breached, placing the burden disproportionately on the poorest areas. And yet, what does this government propose? A commitment to build 1.5 million homes by 2029, a familiar pledge, reminiscent of many before it, that neither guarantees delivery nor prioritises asylum accommodation, nor, significantly, prioritises processing through the Home Office. Thousands more arrive each year. The cost per asylum seeker has risen from £17,000 in 2020 to £41,000 today, a staggering increase that reflects not generosity but inefficiency and incompetence. Sir Keir Starmer promised an end to asylum hotels during the 2024 election campaign. Today, Treasury admission that they are likely to continue until the end of the decade renders that pledge, that promise, that election promise on which he was elected, effectively obsolete. Just words, rhetoric. For all the rhetoric about ending profiteering, the government has yet to break or negotiate the 10-year contracts it inherited, despite a break clause. This speaks to a deeper truth. The asylum system is no longer being steered, it is being endured. Instead of bold policy, we are offered audits. Instead of action, we are promised coordination. Instead of getting a grip, we have grief. If Labour wishes to avoid being tarred with the same brush as its predecessors, that's the brush of inhumanity, by the way, it must do more than condemn profiteers. It must end the conditions that make profiteering possible. These cheap hotels should not be making a money at our expense and at the expense of refugees or would-be refugees. That means tackling the backlog. That means ensuring rapid claims processing. It means dispersal, not defaulting to hotels. And above all, it means a migration system that doesn't swing wildly between cruelty and chaos, but is governed by law, logistics, and realism. Until then, asylum hotels are not a stopgap. They are the system. And today's admission makes that brutally clear.